So now, gavel legislative day number 17 will now come to order. We will now pause for a moment of silent meditation. As we pause, I would ask everyone to please keep the family of Ian Wallace in your thoughts and prayers. I know that been a very, I know that every day life is very sad in some cases, but Ian's death is truly tragic. He was a 19-year-old and had his whole life in front of him. He was from Woodlawn and played basketball at Poly and won 3 state championships. He played his first year in college at Morgan State University, but by all accounts, with all his natural talents, he was viewed as even a better person and self-esteem, a good student and friend. He was killed on Thursday night in a car accident on Liberty Road on his way home from his part-time job. I know his parents, friends, 2 older brothers, and everyone who's come in contact with this young man is experiencing incredible grief at this loss. So please pray and keep them and the family in your thoughts. So we'll have a moment of silence. Thank you. I will now call upon Councilman Marks, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the journal for the meeting of September the 20th?
I'll move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Ayes have it. The journal is approved. Mr. Chair, there are no bills for enrollment this evening. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I know Councilman Marks was thinking about something, but I take it we're not moving forward with it at this time, Councilman Marks?
There should be at least one bill, the Metro Finance bill, Mr. Boswick.
Yes, I'd be happy to read the bills for introduction if you like, Mr. Chair.
Right.
Sure.
The first bill for introduction is bill, only introduction this evening, Bill 8621, Animal Services Trap, Neuter, and Return Program. Bill 87-21, Current Expense Budget, Baltimore County Department of Corrections, Medication Assisted Treatment in Detention Act, House Bill 116 Implementation Project, and Bill 8821 for introduction, sponsored by Councilman Marks, Metropolitan District Interest Charges.
Yes, and Mr. Chairman, I do thank you. If I could get that introduced, I would appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Sure. Mr. Secretary, can you read Resolution 132-21?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Resolution 132-21 is a resolution for the council's consideration of approving a continuation of the state of emergency pursuant to Executive Order 2021-022.
Mr. Benjamin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the council, good afternoon or good evening.
Good evening.
Resolution 132-21 seeks approval of the continuation of the local state of emergency initially declared by the county executive on August 23rd, 2021 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. On August 23rd, 2021, the county executive declared that a state of emergency existed in Baltimore County due to COVID-19. On August 30th, 2021, the council authorized the continuation of that state of emergency with approval of Resolution 112-21, which is set to expire today, October 4th, 2021. Resolution 132-21 declares it is likely that the state of emergency will continue beyond today, October 4, 2021, and authorize the continuation of the state of emergency for an additional 30 days beyond today, ending November 3rd, 2021, or when the county executive declares an end to the state of emergency, whichever occurs first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. Are there any questions or comments from the members?
I have a question.
Yes, Councilman Marks.
So I'd like to thank the administration for the feedback that it's given me and the exchange of information I've had. And I just want to confirm something. So when the council passed the last state of emergency, I believe that was on August 30th, our positivity rate was 4.32%. Today it's around 3.8%. The trends nationwide, my understanding, are all very promising. Ms. Rogers or whoever wants to answer this, why do we need this state of emergency? What will change if the county executive is given the power under the state of emergency?
Okay, Ms. Rogers is away this evening, so I will refer that question to Mr. Benjamin. Would you like to take this question?
Mr. Benjamin, I can take it. This is Dr. Branch. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Dr. Branch. Yes.
Doctor.
Okay, then. Good evening, everyone. As we talk about the pandemic, I've always said to you that the pandemic, this is a marathon and not a sprint. And we are still in this race. We are not out of the woods yet. We still got far way to go. The Baltimore County case rate is approximately 3.8. And people look at those numbers and say to themselves, well, that number's a little lower. We have to remember that many people are getting tested because they need it for their jobs and for their vacations and for different things. And because a lot more people are getting tested, that can artificially lower what your case rate is. So we have to look at other things like the Baltimore County cases. Our cases now are 74,154, and that continues to increase. Our deaths are 1,734, and that continues to increase. We still do not have an approval for a vaccine for our children under the age of 12, and school outbreaks continue to persist, requiring quarantining. Our hospitalizations have now in the past week increased by 25%. And that's predominantly because of Northwest Hospital and Franklin Square Hospital, right in those hot spots in our county. The majority of the hospitalizations are among the unvaccinated, and the length of stay in the hospital is longer for the unvaccinated. People are ready to return and move on to the normal. However, the transmissions and the outbreaks are still occurring. Hospitalizations are still necessary. People are still dying, and too many people still have not gotten their vaccination. Ladies and gentlemen, flu season is here, and we must avoid the potential twindemic. So our resources are already stretched as we prepare to address many of the services that we're going to need in this fall and winter. So, Councilman Marks, when you talk about why do we need to continue this, we are not out of the woods yet. We are still in this marathon, and we are still sprinting through the marathon. So I mentioned all that and still did not mention to you that we're going to have to, and we're still starting to do the boosters, and we also are doing the, we're waiting patiently because we believe that before the end of the year, the FDA will approve the vaccine for children 5 to 11. So I hope that I was able to explain your question, Councilman Marks.
Dr. Branch.
Well, Councilman Marks, you have the floor. You've heard it from our expert, our one and only Dr. Branch. What say you, Councilman Marks?
I mean, what is it that will be done under a state of emergency that was not being done before the state of emergency? I guess that's my question.
So I do know that as we in the Department of Health are trying to gear up for a lot of the things that we're going to continue to have to do and the stuff that we're going to have to do that's new, I know that the state of emergency would be very, very helpful as we're looking at all those contracts that we're going to have to do and being able to get through the procurement process. I'm going to now need to go back in and do some more procurement as it relates to the locations that I'll be doing my booster shots in and my vaccinations in. So for us, from a practical perspective, it really helps us. I don't know if, James, if you have some additional pieces to add to that.
I would just note that with regard to the local state of emergency and the extension of it, it's just as Dr. Branch was saying that for funding purposes, it's very, very helpful to be able to preserve funding resources, and also keep in mind that with the local declaration, it would continue to, I guess, to permit the use of emergency procurement measures, which would allow the county to utilize funds in real time because of the length it takes to go through the bidding and the RFP process. So I would just add that piece.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you.
Can I ask one more thing? If that's the case, then why aren't other jurisdictions under a state of emergency? And I want to say, look, I think the vaccination efforts have been tremendous in this county. I think, Dr. Branch, your finest hour was to Million Fairgrounds so far. I mean, you did a spectacular job. But I guess that's my question is, why aren't other local jurisdictions under the state of emergency?
Well, I don't know if we have anybody here speaking for other jurisdictions.
And I did mention this to Michael. I asked Michael Sanderson a little bit of this type of questioning, an hour ago, relative to what other jurisdictions are under state of emergency. That's just my question. Why are other jurisdictions not able to procure things in an expeditious manner?
I think, to the point that was made by Michael from the Maryland Association of Counties, one of the things he said was it may not be a good comparison because some other jurisdictions actually, they don't have the state of emergency, but they changed legislation, changing some of the rules so that they can do some of the same things we're requiring to do or requesting to do in our state of emergency. They will be able to do it by a normal course of business without having the state of emergency. But
if that's the case, Mr. Chairman, then why couldn't we change the law to allow for procurement, streamlined procurement process? Why couldn't we take this in a more streamlined, targeted manner that requires a legislative change? I'm just going to open that up.
Well, I mean, me personally, I just think, listen, I can't speak for other jurisdictions. I think what is the harm in the state of emergency? And if we can do what's necessary to help keep the citizens of Baltimore County safe, in terms of the procurement rules, I'm okay with relaxing these rules now while we have a state of emergency so we can do what we have to do. I'm certainly welcome to look. I mean, the rest of us, we're all willing to look at changing the rules, but I just think it's probably easier to do this versus changing the rules because at some point this is going to go away. I pray to God it will. And then we can get back to our regular course of business, providing the oversight that the citizens sent us here to provide.
I understand. I don't want my questions to detract from my overall impression of our efforts, which I think has been outstanding. And I think in a lot of respects, the administration has done an exemplary job here. That's all.
Thank you. Councilman Katz, thank you for your patience, sir.
Thank you very much. Dr. Branch, do you already have the power to institute emergency regulations in regard to COVID?
I do have certain powers as the health officer to be able to provide certain things and authorities as it relates to COVID or any other transmissible diseases. So yes, that does happen, but it's only in certain situations. And then I would have to ask the lawyers to be able to speak to it directly what those are.
And secondly, with the booster shot, where are we in regard to that?
We are giving them out right as we speak.
Oh, really?
We are doing that. And so I'm very pleased that the folks who want their booster shots who are coming to us in Baltimore County are able to get those. However, obviously, as you know, as the word gets out and we're not able to handle them at our smaller spots, we will definitely ramp up and do them at the larger spots.
And where are they being administered?
You mean the location?
Yes.
Okay then.
They
So
were
this,
East Point Mall yesterday, right?
right, so we have them at the malls, we have them at the schools, we have them at some of our health centers. So we've got them at different locations on different days around the week.
Good. So I can get online and look at that. Okay.
Yeah, it's right on our line.
Yeah. And so then we have the question of going back to my question about your authority and you know, as a health officer, it would make sense to me if you do have this power. At least I hope you do. I mean, if there is some health emergency, I hope you have the power to react and protect the people of Baltimore County. So,
But Councilman Couch, as you would know, that my authority would be clearly on the public health perspective and not as it relates to procurement.
right, I totally understand. Totally understand. Okay.
Councilwoman Bevan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see you, Dr. Branch. I just want to make a few, well, first I have a question for you. No one mentioned what happens with the hospitals because of the state of emergency. I understand that when the state of emergency is in effect, that they are able to do business in a different way, whether it's telehealth visits, staff issues, things of that nature. If you would care to share that with the council on how the state of emergency helps the hospitals in our area.
So I do recognize and understand that the hospitals apparently, and I'm not working with them at this point now on this perspective, but the hospitals are able to do certain types of billings.
Mhm.
They can get certain types of grants, and so they're able to do like when we talk about teleworking, not teleworking, but actually doing
Health visits.
health visits through their computer and things like that. They're able to do many of those things and continue to get paid for them if there is a state of emergency
Right.
in the state or in that county. So that those things will continue to occur based on what they have said to us.
Mhm. And I also was very concerned this morning, and you can agree, or maybe you didn't hear it today, but I'm sure that you did, that children under the age of 18 have tripled in COVID positive since August. So since kids went back to school, the numbers have tripled. And
Right.
that's a huge message for all those folks that said, oh, kids don't get COVID. Remember them, folks? Kids
That
don't.
is very, very true. The ones who are going back to school, we know that in school that we have a lot more outbreaks since the kids have gone back to school. So that is very, very true. That children are now coming down with COVID. Yes.
And then I would just like to make a comment, and I'm not trying to put anybody in an uncomfortable position, but we've had this vote. How many times have we voted on the state of emergency, Mr. Benjamin? 5, 6? More?
It's been several times.
Okay, many. And of course, we all understand Councilman Crandall and his vote, and he challenges it, and that's fine. But it was always a 6-1 vote. And now it concerns me that we may have other council members changing their mind about voting on the state of emergency. And I really hope not, because we always tell people politics are not local. We do the best that's for our communities. And I would like to think that this vote would be no different, that we have to protect our communities. We need to keep this in place. We need to let the county executive lead. We need to let Dr. Branch run the health department and do what he needs at these clinics. And, you know, I think they're vamping up. And look, when you look at where the clinics are, many are in my district, many are, I said East Point Mall for yesterday and the day before, but it was White Marsh Mall, I'm sorry. But, you know, they've been at Overlay, they've been at East Point, they've been at Dundalk. You know, these are the hot spots. And, you know, you got to understand that, you know, COVID is alive and well, and more people are contracting it, and whether they show symptoms or they don't show symptoms. But I can tell you that the last time a statement was made about the hospitals had very few COVID patients, and I had the president of Franklin Square texting me at that time saying, oh, not true. We are full capacity almost here, and every day it's getting worse and worse. More and more coming through the emergency rooms who are testing positive but able to go home and try to get better at home instead of taking up space in the hospital for people that have other issues besides COVID. But the ICUs are not doing well at Franklin Square and the West Side Hospital. So all you have to do is look around to where these clinics are and what's going on with our local hospitals, and you can see what's happening in our county.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bevins.
Mr. Chair.
Someone else? Councilman Patok?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question that I wanted to ask Dr. Branch. So, Dr. Branch, I recently returned from Quebec, and in that province, they instituted a vaccination passport. And the vaccination passport for unnecessary, non-mandatory activities, you have to show that you have a double vax, and their numbers are they're 89% of the eligible population are single vax, 84% double vax. So, in your opinion, as a medical professional, would a vaccination passport in Baltimore County, would that help save lives, and would that make us a healthier county?
It's kind of a question that has a practical answer and a theoretical answer. The concept of that works extraordinarily well if you can have not only the jurisdiction that you're in, but all the surrounding jurisdictions to participate also. So yes, that would help. As the public health official, it would be really nice, one, if everyone was vaccinated.
Yeah.
Two, in order to go to any type of an event, you had to prove your vaccination status. However, unfortunately, from a practical perspective, if you're doing it as a silo, it doesn't really help as much because the surrounding jurisdictions are not doing it. And then people are just crossing out on barriers all the time. So yes, great idea. I think it works. I've seen it happen in New York City, and they're doing that a lot. It's the entire New York City that is doing that. And so that's why I think that from a practical standpoint can definitely work. Theoretically, I am all for it.
Thank you, Dr. Branch.
Now, let me just say that we certainly appreciate you, Dr. Branch. You are without a doubt our medical expert. You have performed exemplary, not just during this COVID, but I'm often reminded, I would like to remind everyone that we still have other issues like opioid abuse, like STDs, like infant mortality. We still have an awful lot of issues that have always been there on your plate, and you continue to handle them well and do what you have to do in terms of making us a shiny beacon on the hill as it relates to COVID. That said, for me,
Mr. Chairman.
yes, let me finish, Councilman Crandall, then I'll give you an opportunity. Let me just say this, and I know I'm rambling, but give me a minute, because I'll lose my thoughts, and I don't have many. So let me just say this. It's important that, for me, the issue, if you flip it the other side around, which is what is the harm in having a state of emergency? It comes with benefits, but what would be the harm? I'm reminded, in the fire department, we tell people all the time, junior officer, if you think you're going to need this resource, call for it. Don't wait till you absolutely need it to call for it, because then it's too late. Because then they have to get there, call for the resource. If you don't need the help, you can always send them back, but always have the resources you need en route or on the scene just in case. And this is the same thing for me. Hey, if you wake up tomorrow and you need something, I want you to be able to go out and buy it or do whatever you have to do and not have to come back and us reconvene a council to give you that power. Councilman Crandall, take it away.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. My thought, as Councilwoman Bevins stated, my thoughts on this are well known, and like a lot of my constituents, I'm just exhausted by it all. I'm going to ask the same question that I've asked numerous times. What does the state of emergency, as stated in the county charter, have to do with procurement? And no one has been able to show me anything in any state, federal, or local statute that says that we cannot accept this special funding without a local state of emergency. And the other jurisdictions, as Councilman Marks has brought up, the other jurisdictions who have not declared a local state of emergency are receiving these funds as well. I asked in the work session for information that says something that hospitals can't do telehealth appointments or some of the other things that the hospitals want to do in terms of grant funding. I know that local hospitals have gotten grants without local states of emergency for years. Telehealth has been going on for years. So, Dr. Branch, I have a question for you. I agree with everything that Councilman Mark said in terms of your effort since this thing started, even previously when you got wind that it was coming. You deserve a lot of credit for how you've set things up. But we also went for a period of, I believe, 6 weeks without a local state of emergency. Did we stop procuring funds? Did we stop procuring or securing funds and procuring the items that we need? Did your office stop responding to this issue during that 6-week period where we did not have a local state of emergency?
So to answer that question, of course not. We continued on this battle throughout it all. What happens is the fact that there was a time that we had a lull in the numbers and it was going down, and everyone thought that we were going in the right direction. At this particular time, there's been a 32% increase in hospitalizations in our 4 county hospitals for COVID-19. The daily case rates have gone up to 13%. The weekly case rates have gone up 7% increase. And the 7-day death average has jumped from 1 death to an average of 2 deaths, which is a 100% increase. So at this particular time, what I'm saying is the fact that these numbers are going up. A lot of time when it comes to the funding, it's not the fact that we can't receive the funding. It's how quickly you can actually use the funding and procure the services that you need to procure. And when these numbers are up like that and they're moving like that, and I've got to move very, very quickly in my department to be able to get locations for us to do things and to be able to receive the money and procure all the services I need, I've got to do that very, very quickly. And going through the regular chain, I cannot do it that quickly. And that's what a state of emergency is helping us to be able to do.
But
So,
Dr. Branch, I respectfully disagree, because no one has been able to show me anything in any law that would speed up the processes that you're talking about because of a local state of emergency. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Again, my thoughts are well known. You all know how I'm going to vote on this. So
okay.
I'm just really, really concerned about the road that we're heading down by continuing to do these things, and the potential erosions of our basic freedoms. And it's passports were mentioned tonight, and you think we have an argument now? Wait until that comes up. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Crandall. Appreciate you very much. Are any additional questions or comments? Yes, Councilwoman Bevan.
I really hate to keep going on and on. This is our first issue of the night. It's been 35 minutes, but I had just have one question for my friend and colleague, Mr. Crandall. Todd, what freedoms are being taken away from you or me or anyone else by having the state of emergency? You said our freedoms are eroding, and I'd like to know how the state of emergency is eroding our freedoms.
I said that the road that we seem to be going down, when we're starting to talk about passports, we've already with people being forced against their will to get an injection.
No, you said something before the passports. You said that
erosions of our personal freedoms, and that's what I have concern about. And I spent the last 3 weeks talking with people at the Essex Day Festival, where MedStar had a van there where people could get tested or vaccinated. I spent 3 days at another festival, and that's what people were talking about. Stop telling us what to do. We've been listening, and we're doing what we've been told to do for a year and a half, and the thing is still not solved. My kids' experience in school is completely disrupted. The school system has not handled this whole thing very well, confusing people. So that's where I'm coming from, Councilwoman, is that this, I know that we're local government, but we're also a legislative body, and it's our duty to legislate. And here we're legislating something that we don't need to put power in the hands of an executive branch that doesn't need it. And no one's been able to prove to me that the county executive, whoever the county executive may be, this is not personal, but prove to me that the county executive would need these powers, because I've happened to read the charter. So that's where I'm coming from. I hope I answered at least some of your question.
No, I just, so I misunderstood you, because I thought you were saying by the state of emergency that was eroding our freedom. So I just wanted to disagree on that and ask you why you thought that. And I will mention that probably most of the people that you talk to at the festivals, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say they're not vaccinated. And that starts to intrude on my freedom, because I'm vaccinated, but I have to continue to wear a mask. And I have to continue to wear a mask because of the unvaccinated. So, you know, that's starting to encroach on my freedoms. I would like to take my damn mask off, and I'm sure 95% of the public would love to do that as well. Well, more 75% of the public, but we can't because of the unvaccinated. It's still not safe out there. So
I don't think that we can make an assumption that the majority of people at these festivals were unvaccinated. I don't know how we can make that assumption.
Oh, I'm saying if you were having conversations with people about not getting vaccinated and we want to be forced to be vaccinated and the government shouldn't be making us get vaccinated, if those were the type of conversations you were having, I'm saying if those were the type of conversations you were having with unvaccinated people, you know, don't tread on my freedoms. I don't want to get vaccinated. I have the information and I thank you for sharing it, but I don't want to get vaccinated. I'm just saying, if those are the people that are encroaching on my freedoms, because nothing's changed. Even though I'm double vaxxed, and my husband is, we still have to wear a mask everywhere because people who are not vaccinated are supposed to wear masks, and we know that they're not. So because not only do they not want to be vaccinated, they don't want to be forced to wear a mask either. I think that's unfair to me. And you can disagree, but I feel like that's very unfair to me. And it's the same for our kids in school. If you have teachers that are still refusing to be vaccinated, that's why the kids have masks on, Todd. That's exactly why our kids have masks on. I don't like to see my grandkids wear masks too. They go to Baltimore County schools and they both have asthma. They both have breathing issues and take medications and take inhalers. I want to see them in is mask all day in school. But that's because there are teachers and staff members in our school system that refuse to get vaccinated. And they're the ones putting our children at risk. The unvaccinated, not the vaccinated. Dr. Branch, I'm hoping that you can, back me up on that. And no one who has been vaccinated has died, only the unvaccinated. And isn't that what our hospital is bogged down with right now? The unvaccinated?
So what happens is the fact that the majority of the people who are in the hospitals now for COVID is because it's persons who are unvaccinated.
Thank you, because there's a listener, Mr. William Fuhrer, who is saying that I'm giving out incorrect information, and that's not true. And we know that to be true. People who are not vaccinated are the ones dying and on ventilators, not the vaccinated. True?
So at this point now, the majority of the people, that is a true statement. That does not mean that a person who was vaccinated was not in the hospital and was not placed on a ventilator. We're looking at the numbers and the risks, and the majority of the people who are there are the unvaccinated ones.
True.
That's where the issue is.
So I'll just wrap up my comment with just saying this debate is obviously going on nationally and not just in our WebEx meeting here tonight.
Sure.
But we're voting on a local state of emergency, not whether to vaccinate people or not.
I know. I was just I just wanted to make a statement about, I was, I guess, answering some of the comments. I wanted to have closure on some of the comments you were making about our kids in schools with masks. That kills me. But you know what? Our children aren't passing COVID to each other because they're masked. They're washing their hands every hour. It is the unvaccinated parents. It is the unvaccinated staff in our schools that are spreading COVID to our children. And I have a problem with that. And I have a problem keeping a mask on 24/7 everywhere I go because of the unvaccinated. I'm just venting, and I'll stop now. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bevins. And I thank everybody for their comments. They're very thoughtful and, straight from the heart. I think we need to have the state of emergency just because, number one, it doesn't do any harm. And if it's going to help the hospitals, so be it. If it's going to help Dr. Branch, 1 iota, I'm okay with that. If it's going to help the county executive, 1 iota or more, I'm okay with that. So on that note, is there a motion to approve resolution 132-21?
I'll move it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on resolution 132-21.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
No.
Mr. Marks,
No.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Catch.
No.
And they say COVID's not political.
Okay.
Well, I can assure you my decision is not political.
Well, let me just say
Never
that the ayes
Right.
have it.
You have no
Ayes
business
have it.
accusing me
And
of being political.
Resolution 132-21 is passed. Mr. Secretary, item, please. Thank you, Councilman Quirk.
Next, Mr. Chairman, the council will consider also under miscellaneous business, just a bit out of order, the two reappointments, or the one reappointment and the other is an appointment. The reappointment is to the Baltimore County Revenue Authority, Mr. James Eric Schleibaum. Mr. Schleibaum is actually, I believe, on the call.
Let's have Mr. Otis Collins go first. I understand he has a meeting and I'm not sure if he's still here.
I don't believe Mr. Collins has been on the meeting, Mr. Chairman, which is why I called Mr. Schleibaum.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go right ahead.
I believe he is on the WebEx. If anyone wishes to ask him any questions or have him say anything.
Yes, Mr. Schleibaum, would you like to say a few words? We certainly appreciate your willingness to continue your service to the Revenue Authority.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the council. Like I said in the session, I just look forward to continuing to serve the residents of Baltimore County and on the capacity of on the board of the Revenue Authority, and if I shall be approved again.
Okay. We thank you very much for your service. Is there a motion to approve the appointment? I'll move it. Is there a second?
Second.
I didn't ask for any questions or comments from the members. I'll do that at this time. Any questions or comments from the members? It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the appointment.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk? I'm sorry, Mr. Quirk had to leave the meeting. Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. The appointment is confirmed. Thank you very much, Mr. Schleibaum. We certainly appreciate your service and thank you again.
Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, for the council's consideration is the county executive's nomination of Mr. Otis D. Collins to be appointed to the Baltimore County Ethics Commission.
Mr. Collins, are you here? I know he also had another engagement. Mr. Del Castro, I take it Mr. Collins is not here?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. He is not on the WebEx meeting.
Okay, Mr. Collins is a community leader from the Hellthorpe area. He's also president of the Police Community Relations out of the Wilkins precinct, and he have came and testified before us in the past for various issues. And is there a motion to approve his appointment?
Motion.
I'll second it. It's moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the appointment.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The appointment is confirmed. Congratulations, Mr. Otis Collins. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Moving back to the bills for final reading and vote. The first bill is Bill 82-21, Design Review Areas.
Ms. Amy,
I'm here.
oh, go right ahead.
All right. Thank you, Chairman and members of council. Bill 8221 requires Baltimore County Design Review Panel to review proposed non-residential developments located in the Liberty Road Design Review Area and the Dundalk Commercial Revitalization District. The bill also adds the Liberty Road Design Review Area and the Dundalk Commercial Revitalization District to the Design Review Panel areas. Those areas are part of the Comprehensive Manual of Development Policies.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go right ahead.
just want to thank Ms. Mante and her staff. I know there are a lot of people that worked on this, and I'll also, in the interest of time, thank her for resolutions 12621 and 12721. Thank you, Ms. Mante, for you and your staff for all of your efforts these past few months. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And on that note, before we call for the vote, I would just like to take this opportunity to thank the planning department. Also, Ms. Donay, all of her hard work and dedication to the Randallstown community. And I know I was there for just about every one of the meetings. And I know that, she put an awful lot of work in it. There was a lot of people, a lot of issues, a lot of ideas, and she managed that well. So, on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Mr. Chairman,
you're there. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I believe that you were considering an amendment to this bill. Do you wish for me to read that amendment?
Yeah, I was looking to make sure that our amendment would be on this one. I believe this is the only one we're doing for the Liberty Road Design Review Commission. It's the only one we're doing tonight.
Well, the bill is this particular bill it deals with several design review areas, I believe, but it includes the Liberty Road.
Okay. Just double check. Double check. I thought it may have been 82-12. But why don't we go ahead with the amendment anyway? And why don't we go ahead with the amendment? It's a technical amendment anyway. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. The amendment would amend the effective date of the bill from October 4th to October 17th, 2021, which is in line with the other two bills, 83 and 84, that are under consideration after this one. So there's no surprises there. And then the substance of the amendment would indicate that it would not, currently as written, the bill will take effect with the amendment on October 17th and apply to any development that has not received final approval prior to the effective date of this bill. The amendment would add language that states, except that it shall not apply to any development for which an application for a limited exemption has been filed prior to the effective date of the bill. So that's the sum and substance, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move it.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendment to 82-21.
I think we still need a second.
Second.
Sorry to be a stickler.
It's okay. It's okay. Call the roll on the amendment.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The amendment passes. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Is there a motion to approve Bill 82-21 as amended?
Motion.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on 82-21 as amended.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Bill 82-21 as amended is passed. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Mr. Chairman, next is Bill 83-21, Current Expense Budget, American Rescue Plan, ARPA Workforce.
Mr. Leonard Howard.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, and members of the council. The administration is requesting a supplemental appropriation of federal funds totaling $4.8 million to the American Rescue Plan Workforce Gifts and Grants Fund program. The grant funds will be used to service the sectors and the workforce hit hardest by the COVID-19 pandemic. As we all know, service sector workers, many of whom are already working less than full-time schedules, were the first to be furloughed or laid off. The proposed solution is to create career pathways that will take these service workers, as well as others who provided critical services to the Baltimore economy, and retool their skill sets to make them more competitive for employment within the resurging service sectors, or to upskill these former service sector employees so they will be qualified to work in other in-demand sectors. There will be a special emphasis for those occupations deemed essential service in that they continue to work during the span of the pandemic, such as those in healthcare, food production, sanitation, childcare, and public health and safety. Efforts will focus on collaboration with partners, including county libraries, branches, and community and faith-based organizations to provide education, resources, and workforce development programming to these most vulnerable job seekers. Staff will also collaborate with community organizations to provide job seekers with case management and support to assist with preparing for, obtaining, and maintaining employment. In addition to our normal outreach efforts, referrals will come from the county's public sector workforce partners, such as CCBC, BCPS, county agencies such as DHH, and Aging and Corrections, and with the private sector, such as LifeBridge Health. Training providers will be determined through the county's RFP process, with training commencing in the spring of 2022. The grant period is from July 2021 to June 30th, 2026, and must be obligated by December of 2024 and fully expended by June of 2026. No county matching funds are required. With the affirmative vote of the members of the council, this bill will take effect on October 17th and will be retroactive to July 1st, 2021.
Any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 83-21.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Bill 83-21 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Bill 84-21, Capital Budget Public Solar Grant.
Staff, Lummy?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Council. The administration is requesting a supplemental appropriation of state funds. So the county received a state grant totaling $400,000 to the Resilience and Sustainability Bulk Capital Project as listed in the bill, Resilience and Sustainability. The funds will be used to support the construction and installation of rooftop solar panels for the county's Randallstown Community Center and Hunt Valley facility. The county intends to sub-grant the funds to SunPower, that's the solar developer, and we have an agreement now with SunPower for the construction and installation of rooftop systems for the two facilities for two 25-year agreements for both projects. So the genesis of this is we bid out a contract for solar power in 2019, and SunPower responded and has been awarded a contract for two rooftop projects. As I mentioned, the power purchase agreements establish the energy rates to be paid by the county. So it's a locked in cents on the kilowatt hour that's over the 25-year term. We have the option to purchase the system, and there are termination fees as well as renewal options. So the department expects construction of the solar systems to begin in March 2022 and be operational by July of 2022 for these projects. So the proposed $400,000 appropriation will be used to support the costs of the two solar projects. The department advised that SunPower applied for the grants, $200,000 for each one on behalf of the county, and the grant agreement was approved June 17th of this year. The term of the grant will continue to April 1, 23, but we expect the projects to be done well in time for that, and no county matching funds are required. With the affirmative vote of 5 members of the council, Bill 84-21 will take effect October 17th of 21.
All right, Mr. Blumen, we thank you so much for your testimony. I do know we had extensive conversations and questions during the work session, so there's no reason to bore anyone with that anymore, and I think your explanation is excellent. Mr. Secretary, is there an amendment to Bill 84-21?
There is a technical amendment, Mr. Chairman. As the council has heard, this bill is related to solar funding, but the title of the bill actually is not public solar grant, but should be amended to state resilience and sustainability, actually. And so that's actually the title, and it's also referred on page 2 of the bill where it says public solar grant. It should be resilience and sustainability. That's the amendment.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the amendment to Bill 84-21?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendment to Bill 84-21.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The amendment passes. Are there any questions or comments from the members for the amended bill of 84-21? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 84-21 as amended.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Bill 84-21 as amended is passed. Mr. Secretary, let me see. Council will now consider all fiscal matters. Extensive testimony was taken at the council's work session on September 28th. The witnesses who testified at the work session are available to restate their testimony if needed. If the council member have any questions regarding a particular fiscal matter, that item will be discussed as a separate matter. I will now call upon the secretary to read the cover letter for fiscal matters 1 through 9.
Mr. Secretary, fiscal matter 1 is a purchase order with Celebrite Incorporated for on-site training certification through the police department. Fiscal matter 2 is a contract with KRA Corporation for support services, American Job Centers, economic development. Fiscal matter 3 is a contract of sale, Jago Americas Supply Incorporated, drainage and utility easement. Fiscal matter 4 is a contract with MB Companies Incorporated, annual maintenance and cleaning of the roadway paint truck, DPWT. Fiscal matter 5 is a contract with Team Service Corporation of New York for electric motor repair services, also DPWT. Fiscal matter 6 is 4 contracts for assisted living care services through Department of Aging. Fiscal matter 7 is 2 contracts with analysis for water, soil, and fish tissue samples through DEPS. Fiscal matter 8 is a contract with Marlen Environmental Incorporated for forest analysis assessment services, also DEPS. And fiscal matter 9 is 3 contracts for reforestation services, also through DEPS.
Again, I know we had extensive conversations and questions and discussions about these items during the work session. Is there a motion? Let me see, do I need a motion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Been moved? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on fiscal matters 1 through 9.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Fiscal matters 1 through 9 are approved. We'll now consider our miscellaneous business. Mr. Secretary, first item, please.
Mr. Chairman, whenever a contract over $25,000 is awarded by a process other than formal competitive bid, it is required that a copy of the contract be given to the council and the nature and parties to the contract be announced by the secretary at the next legislative session following award. There is one such contract this evening. It is a purchase order with C&D Municipal Sales Incorporated for impeller flow-serve wear ring and nut for the flow-serve impeller through DPW. It's a sole source PO in the amount of $138,468.
Ooh, kind of like an impeller and a Trident submarine or something. Any questions or comments? None. Move right along, Mr. Secretary. Next item, please.
Mr. Chairman, next is Resolution 126-21, a resolution for the council to consider approval of the Dundalk Commercial Revitalization District / Design Review Area.
Okay, Ms. Lori Hay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, or good evening, I should say, and members of the council. The Dundalk Design Guidelines and recommendation to become a design review area was initiated at the request of the Executive Office and developed through a partnership with the members of the Dundalk community. An advisory committee made up of representatives from the Dundalk Renaissance Corporation, the Chamber of Commerce, the St. Helena Community Association, and the Turner Station Community Association, along with county staff and staff in the 7th District Council Office, worked from December of 2020 to April of 2021 to create design guidelines. These will be used by the county's design review panel to enhance and improve the design of redevelopment projects within the Dundalk Commercial Revitalization Area. The guidelines build upon some existing facade guidelines developed for the Main Street area and also address new construction, streetscape, sustainability, arts, and culture. The proposal to enlarge the commercial revitalization area grew out of the advisory committee and includes the Logan Village Shopping Center, which has substantial vacancies and is in need of redevelopment, and some properties further south on the Dundalk Avenue around the traffic circle to the entrance to the Turner Station community. These guidelines were addressed and approved by the Planning Board in June. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Are any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, if I may, just quickly want to thank Ms. Hay for her passion for southeastern Baltimore County and for her and her staff's work on this endeavor. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Councilwoman Bevan.
I just want to say it's fantastic news. Congratulations, Councilman Crandall.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve resolution 126-21?
I'll move it.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on resolution 126-21.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution 126-21 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Mr. Chairman, the next item is Resolution 127-21. This is similar to the resolution you just considered, but rather this resolution requests the council's approval of an amendment to the boundary of the Essex Commercial Revitalization District, as well as the design review area.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
Ms. Hay, what I said before.
Ditto.
I have a little spiel I can say about the Essex design guidelines too, if you'd like me to. Okay. The guidelines and recommendations to enlarge the design review panel area also grew out of a collaborative process with the Eastern Baltimore County Task Force, which is a subgroup of the Chesapeake Gateway Chamber of Commerce. The area had very old guidelines that were adopted in the 1980s and were in much need of updating. The group worked in partnership with county staff and representatives of the larger community and the council offices developed guidelines that address today's market for commercial development, and expanded the boundary to include some key commercial properties such as the Kingston Park Shopping Center. The advisory group met from November of 2020 to April of 2021. The proposed guidelines focus on downtown storefront facades, best practices for building conversions, new construction, and establishing an area theme and identification. The design review panel will use these guidelines to review projects in the commercial revitalization district, particularly on Eastern Avenue, where efforts are being focused, and will assist the Eastern Baltimore County Task Force in the allocation of funding for their facade improvement grant program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve resolution 127-21?
I'll move it.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on resolution 127-21.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Marks.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution 127-21 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Resolution 128-21. This resolution seeks approval of the Liberty Road Design Review Area as a design review area.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Gonay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the County Council. So since September 2020, the Department of Planning, in partnership with community stakeholders, have worked together to develop commercial design guidelines for the Liberty Road corridor. The focus of the design guidelines include the 8 shopping centers located on Liberty Road from I-695 to Greens Lane. The design elements focus on architecture, signage, landscaping, and streetscape. And the design guideline will be used in the Liberty Road DRP area to reveal new commercial developments, rehabilitation of vacant and dilapidated commercial properties, alteration and renovations of existing commercial buildings, addition to existing commercial buildings, and commercial properties requesting a zoning petition. And the Department of Planning will like to thank Councilman Jones and his staff for the support, and of course the community. We can't thank the community enough. We appreciate all the involvement and the commitment given to this project. Thank you.
Ms. Gonay, I can't thank you enough for your hard work and dedication. Again, I saw you work on this issue for quite some time, and I know that we had an awful lot of people that were very interested, a lot of great ideas, but to be quite frank, you were able to do what was necessary to keep everyone on task and to produce a better product. And I think at the end of the day, it'll be important to the residents of our community on the Liberty Road corridor and all the communities that it's touched and everybody that comes through it when we start to see these shopping centers be redeveloped and then conform to these additional guidelines. I just want to thank you, not just as it relates to this process, but also as it relates to other projects that happen in the area, other works that's been done, and even some of the projects that are in works right now. We have increased the requirement on the developer in terms of beautification, thanks in large part to the requirements from you and the planning department. So thank you very, very much. And
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're more than welcome. Let me see. Are there any additional questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go right ahead, Councilman Patoka.
I just want to acknowledge the great work of the Department of Planning. I mentioned that during our work session that Ms. Hay was an unsung hero in the Baltimore County Department of Planning, but also think the department itself is an unsung hero in Baltimore County. It's a great department. It does great work. And so for the 3 planners that are on tonight, I just want to thank you for, for what you do in the planning profession. Also want to let you know that planner extraordinaire Joe Zender from Portland, Oregon is in town tonight and will be receiving guests at Laurie Feinberg's house. So if you have nothing going on after this meeting, I think Joe was director of planning for Portland, Oregon.
Councilman Hooker, would you like to give us that address? Is that address open to everybody in Baltimore County? Because I'm sure we can get a flash mob to show up if you want to put the address out there and say.
I don't have the exact address, but if you message me, I'm happy to give it out. But just great work, Department of Planning.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from any of the members? All right, Mr. Secretary, no, is there a motion to approve it? I approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll of Resolution 128-21.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Ayes have it. Resolution 128 is passed. Congratulations, Ms. Gonay. Thank you so much for all your work and effort in this project. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Mr. Chairman, next is Resolution 133-21, approval of the sanitary sewer extension Edgemere area for introduction only this evening.
Thank you. Are there any further business to come before the council?
There's no further business, Mr. Chair.
Having no further business, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Move it. Been moved.
Second.
Is there a second? It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned. As is customary, anyone who is registered to speak online prior to the meeting is allowed 3 minutes to speak. Ms. Belcastro, do we have any such person?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have 5 speakers this evening. I'll call upon our first speaker who has 3 minutes to give their comments. Her name is Katie Kimball. Ms. Kimball?
Ms. Kimball.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good evening. I would like to talk about my perspective on the Baltimore County state of emergency. I'm a parent, I'm a taxpayer, and I'm in a family-owned small business in Baltimore County. We are 17 months into the pandemic. Why was the vote taken on August 30th to reinstate the state of emergency for Baltimore County? And why is it being discussed again now when the governor and every other county in Maryland had removed theirs? Your constituents were shocked and appalled that you voted to reinstate the state of emergency when vaccine rates were rising, hospitalizations were dropping, and percent positivity was vanishing. All while Johnny O had just allowed the BMW Championship to host 20,000 spectators and the Maryland State Fair to run at full capacity with full concerts, all in the days preceding your vote. No surges happened, no outbreaks. Baltimore County is the 3rd lowest county in the state with regard to new COVID cases. Our state overall has one of the highest vaccination rates in the country, and Baltimore County is one of the best in the state with 67% of eligible Baltimore County citizens vaccinated. Yet you voted to put Baltimore County back into a state of emergency on August 30th. And again, discussing it now. Why? Your constituents are smart, and we see the state of emergency as a money grab for federal funding and a power grab so Johnny can mandate what he pleases without due process in the legislature. We don't want any more handouts. We don't want a crutch. We don't want any more shutdowns or restrictions. We want our children in school and playing sports. We want our businesses thriving and our citizens privately employed, not employees of the government by nature of your handouts. So take the information that you have and move forward, not backward, Mr. Jones and County Council members. Lesson learned, Baltimore County does not need to be in a state of emergency. Mr. Gregory Branch, I am shocked that your skewed view of the data is guiding policy. You are not telling the true numbers, and half of the board is listening and soaking it all in. Resources are not stretched and hospitals are not full. You, sir, seem to be running a marathon that you are the only one running in. Ms. Bevins, I'm not sure where you are getting your numbers from, but please check your facts instead of spreading fears and lies. Directly from the state of Maryland COVID dashboard, only 10% of acute patients have COVID, and 21% of ICU patients have COVID. In addition, directly on the BCPS website, do you know how many students have tested positive for COVID out of approximately 110,000 children? 22 students. I'll repeat that, 22 students have COVID. No one died. This is not a surge. We have never been at capacity in the state of Maryland, and we are not now. With no scientific backing that any of these things would work, you all have been pushing shutdowns, masking, and vaccines with a hope and a wish. And yet over the course of a year, we have seen other counties, other states, and other countries have the same or better outcomes dealing with this pandemic without these restrictions. Yet after 17 months, you now have real data. So use the science, not fear. Policy should match reality. Look outside of Baltimore County and see what is working elsewhere. I implore you. Thank you.
Ms. Kimball, thank you so much for your comments. Certainly appreciate you taking the time to share them with us here today. And I would agree, the BMW Championship was a wonderful event for Baltimore County. Made us look great all over the nation, all over the world. So on that note, I will.
Mr.
Yes, Councilwoman Bevins.
I normally don't like to interact with, I just like to have people have their say, but I'm not going to be insulted the way I was just insulted. I talked to the president of Franklin Square Hospital, and I know the numbers of the hospital, and I know the ICU is at capacity. I know that there are 35 beds every week full with COVID patients. Excuse me if they're not dead, that they're just there on ventilators and need oxygen and need therapy, and they can't breathe, and they're coming back with oxygen tanks, and their quality of life has changed forever. But I'm sorry, they're not dead. They have to be dead for anyone to really understand what's going on. And Dr. Branch is a doctor of medicine, and he is not skewing anything. I think if anybody has the facts, it's the presidents of our hospitals and our CEOs of our hospitals and Dr. Branch himself. We have no reason to make up numbers. We have no reason to skew anything. Just get vaccinated and put your mask on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bevins. I'm with you, Councilwoman Bevins. Ms. Belcastro, next caller, please.
Sure. Our next speaker, Mr. Chair, is Bill Adams. Mr. Adams, you may begin your testimony.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I appreciate you taking a couple minutes to let us talk. I guess the first point I just wanted to ask, and I encourage you watch it if you didn't, Governor Hogan did a press conference Thursday or Friday. During that press conference, he said there was only 11 minors in the hospital with COVID in the entire state. So please, it is true. He said it on TV. Like, you can watch his press conference if you didn't watch it. And then do you know how many minors there are in the state of Maryland? Roughly 1.2, 1.3 million. The further fact to that is those minors, based on their own stats that Dr. Branch and everyone else compute, those 11 minors who are unfortunately in the hospital will recover. They have a 99.9+% chance to recover. So the other point that makes me a little irate is he keeps saying there's no downside to the emergency order. And this is where I usually lose it and can't hold myself together. The downside to the emergency order is you stole 1.5 years of my kids' lives times 3. You stole their sports, and you won't even admit that's a bad decision that you made. There's no correlation between youth sports and COVID. It's been proven by Freedom of Information request to Dr. Branch. Right now, you're penalizing students with unreasonable quarantine rules. There is no reason someone needs to sit at home for 14 days from being exposed. So do not say there's not a downside. You even took money out of my pocket for the sports I paid for and the kids couldn't play. When these emergency orders start happening, it's exactly as the first caller said. It's a power grab, and not one of you and Johnny O cannot say in facts what the emergency order does. What's the goal? If you care about your health, get yourself in shape, because even though you have the vaccine, you're probably going to get COVID.
Thank
Just
you,
like,
Mr.
well, you just, well, hold on a second. I'm not done. Who just got it? Mayor Scott, seven mask wearing Mayor Scott came down with COVID.
Are you done, Mr. Adams? First of all, I want to thank you so much for your time testifying today. We certainly keep Mayor Scott in our prayers. And if he's like so many other people that have tested positive for COVID, having been vaccinated, fully vaccinated, they will recover. I could not help but I guess Google it real fast because my recollection was not that we did not have children die in the state of Maryland. Now, I guess looking here, confirmed by Channel News, Channel 11 News, July 30th, a fourth child under the age of 9 have died from COVID in Maryland. And I don't know about you, Mr. Adams. I don't want any child to die from COVID. And I certainly wouldn't want anything to happen to yours or my child or anybody else's child. So the precautions I think was necessary. And, what a lot of people don't know is prior to the governor closing schools or the state superintendent of schools, many parents were choosing not to send their kids to school anyway. Every other day, the absentee level was getting higher and higher because parents were concerned for their kids. Thank you very much for your comments. Ms. Belcastro, next person, please.
Our next speaker who registered, Mr. Chair, was a William Wychulis. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but I cannot find the gentleman on our attendee list. So I'm going to our next speaker who registered, and that was Bill Rogers. And Mr. Rogers also is not on our attendee list this evening. Our final speaker that registered is Mary Taylor, and I believe she is on. Ms. Taylor?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Councilman Crandall, Marks, and Koch for their well thought out comments and concerns. They were based on facts and not fiction. Other council members' comments are not based on facts, but fear and, to say the least, borderline discriminatory. And I was going to stay classy tonight, but after hearing Councilwoman Bevins, and you can keep laughing at me, Ms. Bevins, because I think that's very disrespectful and condescending, but it just, you never cease to amaze me. Do not interrupt me, Councilwoman Bevins. This is my time. But it ceases to amaze me how arrogant and rude you are to the constituents of Baltimore County. So if I can move on, and as elected officials, you owe the public a clear explanation as to why the county executive reinstated the state of emergency a month after the government ended it for the entire state. What's the reason for extending it now? Give us a clear reason. Is it public health? Because positivity rate never went above 4.55% during the state of emergency since April 26, 2021. Our rates are low and stable. Hospitals are not overwhelmed with COVID patients. I spoke to 3 hospitals myself. The current positivity rate is 3.88%. Is it money? What has the millions of dollars in grant money been spent on? Can you give us a breakdown of that? And how much is left to spend? How about political gain? As other speakers say, if it's so scary out in the public, then why have county council members attended the BMW golf event, the Maryland State Fair, private luncheons, bar establishment, political fundraisers, Ravens and Oriole games, and many other events? So if you contend and hold all these events during your imposed state of emergency, why do you not cancel these events? You also continue to hold the public at bay and not allow the public to attend in-person public meetings. So what is it, county council members? Practice what you preach. And let's be clear. What is the objective of the state of emergency? 0 COVID deaths, 0 COVID cases, 100% vaccination? That's impossible, and you know it. And none of the data numbers you presented tonight are alarming when you look at the big picture. They're all posted on the State of Maryland website. They're all posted on the Baltimore County Public School website. They're all posted on the Baltimore County website. The most important metrics to follow are death and hospitalizations, and we have 828,000 residents and 4 amazing hospitals. So how are we in crisis mode with the current numbers? As other callers said, there's no need to continue the state of emergency even one more day, and we see it for what it is, a money grab for federal funding and a power grab for the county executive so he can mandate what he pleases without due process. My last comment is, nothing you discussed last week or tonight explains a logical or intelligent reason as to why Baltimore County needs to be the only jurisdiction under state of emergency. Shame on you all for using your elected positions to control your constituents. We will remember this come election time next year. Have a good evening.
Ms. Taylor, I thank you for your call. Appreciate it very much. I was hoping you were still on the call. I was just thinking about the 1,700 citizens in Baltimore County who died. I was thinking about the over 600 and some thousand citizens in the United States that have died because of COVID, and the countless others who will have medical conditions that will last them for many, many years to come. So on that note, I appreciate all the callers calling in. Certainly appreciate, I have to admit that I disagree with just about a lot of the things they said, but I will be the first one to defend their right to say it, and I'll be the first one to welcome them to come here expressing their concerns and opinions here tonight. So any additional questions or comments from any of the members?
I'm afraid to say anything. I'm so mean and disrespectful.
All right.
No one could have possibly talked to the president of Franklin Square Hospital because I talk to him very frequently and I know exactly how many people are in that hospital with COVID. And if you were listening, if people were listening to this whole meeting tonight, they couldn't have listened to one thing Dr. Branch said to take away what was just taken away by those same callers that called last time, besides Ms. Taylor calling this time. And look, it is what it is. And, you know, we used to say that this would never happen on the county council, but it's definitely political.
Well, I would guess add that when Dr. Branch did testify, he said he felt as though the positivity rate was going down because so many additional people are required to be tested.
Right.
He said that our cases in Baltimore County continue to rise and the deaths in Baltimore County continue to rise. So that's what he said. Any additional questions or comments?
God bless America.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. God bless America. God bless us all. May God continue to keep us all safe.
Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.